Alright, we are back for another week on Fantasy Football in 5. Now, the last video we did, it was our end of season awards, so if you haven't seen that,
hit the big right button below.
Now, this week will be our NFL offseason moves and the fantasy impact that they'll have.
Alright, so our first offseason noteworthy thing, I guess. Jared Allen announced his retirement from the NFL. He was with the Panthers. They just lost in the Super Bowl, but it was a good career for him. The Lions released Stephen Tulloch, longtime linebacker from them, and Pittsburgh's tight end Heath Miller retired. But don't worry, Pittsburgh fans, Jesse James is here. He's 6'7", 270, so he's our next guy up.
And Jared Allen retired 9th all-time in sacks, so that's a really good career from him. Now, the Rams, they released Chris Long, James Laurinaitis, and tight end Jared Cook. Now, these are really big moves because it allows them to free up a lot of cap space for free agency, so they might go out and get a big-name free agent. But it also is a big impact because Chris Long was a really good defensive end for their defense, and James Laurinaitis was key in the middle. Now, the next noteworthy thing on this offseason, well, the ex-Cowboys running back Joseph Randle was arrested for the 5th time in 17 months.
It's pretty impressive.
Yes, that has to be a record. Other than that, he's most likely going to be out of the NFL from now on.
Yeah.
The Jets, they released Antonio Cromartie, which is a little surprising because he did play okay, but expect him to be picked up by another team. Now, the Eagles, they signed safety Malcolm Jenkins to a 5-year deal, which is pretty big because that makes their back end solidified for the next 5 years. And the Broncos signed ex-Browns defensive tackle Phil Taylor, which just gives them more depth at the defensive tackle spot.
Yeah, especially because they're going to lose a couple from free agency this year.
Yeah.
The Saints, they released longtime receiver Marcus Colston, which doesn't really come as a surprise now. He's getting old, but he did lead the Saints all-time leading receiver from basically every category. So I expect him to be picked up by a wide receiver needy team. All right, so we're going to head to the nation's capital and RG3. He will not return to the Redskins this next season. He hasn't started since his second year in the NFL, and he's been taken over by Kirk Cousins, so he's out of there, hoping to find another home. They also franchise tagged Kirk Cousins for about a $16 or $18 million deal annually.
19.95.
Same thing, but I expect him to be their quarterback for the next several years. And the Bears tagged Alshon Jeffrey, wide receiver, and Cutler really likes him, so expect him to get plenty of targets next season.
Now, Peyton Manning will retire this offseason. It's been floating around the question, is he going to retire, is he not? But he has confirmed he's going to retire, even though some teams want him.
I heard Brett Favre's coming out of retirement, too.
Wow. All right, the next thing up for this offseason, the Bills release Mario Williams, which is really important because he was a good defender on a pretty good Bills defense. So expect him to be picked up fairly quickly when free agency starts. Now, I think a good spot for him to land would probably be the Cowboys or the Giants, because the Cowboys, they just lost Greg Hardy, so expect them to bring someone in, a pass rusher, to replace him, and I think Mario Williams fits that.
Some other defensive news, the Panthers tagged cornerback Josh Norman, and the Chiefs tagged safety Eric Berry, both all-pro players, so it's good news for both of their teams. Not so good news, though, the Falcons released Roddy White, longtime Falcons receiver. He holds pretty much every Falcons record now,
Yeah.
but I expect Julio Jones to have an even better season than he did this year. Also, the Eagles re-signed quarterback Sam Bradford to a 2-year, $26 million deal. So look for him to probably have a better season than last, just because he's not under so much pressure at the moment. But it's the Eagles, and their offense is always shaky, so look for that next season.
Speaking of quarterbacks, Joe Flacco of the Ravens, he got re-signed for a 5-year deal, so that kind of comes as a shock for such a long deal, and he hasn't really performed the greatest. So expect them to, be mediocre.
Regret it.
Anyways, other than that, the Texans, they have released Arian Foster, which is really big because he was the leading back out there, even though he's really injury prone. So a lot of people did see this coming, myself included. But I think now that he is done with the Texans, he might just be done altogether because he's, like I said, extremely injury prone, and I'm not sure that another team is going to want him for any large amount of money.
Alright, that was Fist Football in 5. Thank you for watching. We deliver all your fantasy news in 5 minutes list because, honestly, who would want to watch a 30-minute video on this topic?
Amen.
So stay tuned with us for our next video. It'll be our mock draft special. So keep an eye out for that and the NFL draft.